Hey, what's up, y'all? Just putting this video up on here. I definitely think I agree with Donald Trump. He's got right on. Iraq war is a disaster. But the thing is Bush knew, or even if he didn't know, he didn't care if the Iraq war was a disaster or not, because it's all for profit. I mean, for supporters of the Iraq war, do you really think, is it such a coincidence that gas went up when we invaded a country that has more oil than the U.S., not just the U.S., the entire continent of North America, including Canada, and South America, and Africa combined, in just that one country, that all of a sudden our gas prices went from $1.47, which is what they were when Clinton left office, to over $3 a gallon. I mean, in California, it's getting closer to $4 a gallon sometimes. I mean, is that a coincidence? No, it's not, because guess what? There's a little thing called the stock market, investments, and if President Bush, Dick Cheney, who were CEOs of those types of companies, Halliburton, the contractor companies, all that stuff, when they invest in those things and then they get that huge profit, imagine they nearly doubled, they actually more than doubled their profits since President Bush has been elected, just in oil, just with the gas companies. More than doubled what they were making in their investments. Their stocks went up 100% in those areas, in their investments. I mean, it's unbelievable. That is unbelievable. You know? And you know, it was all strategic. He used the fear. The September 11th to him was a good thing because it put fear into the United States, and he used that fear against us. As Franklin D. Roosevelt once said, "We have nothing to fear but fear itself." Nothing to fear but fear itself. So, I think it was Franklin D. Roosevelt. Sorry if I'm wrong on that. I can't just... Anyways. But the saying behind it is true. We have nothing to fear but fear itself. And that's what we need to be fearing, is our own insecurities as Americans, that we think we're so strong, that we have the stand-up nation, and that, you know, we can never be defeated. Guess what? There was a couple other empires that thought that. The Romans thought that. The Greeks thought that. The Persians Empire, you realize that the Persians controlled 4/5, 80% of the known world at one time. 80% of the known world at one time. Of the known world, what was known at that time. 4/5 of the world. And guess who beat them? The Greeks. Alexander went across the Empire of Persia and completely annihilated them. You know? The Roman Empire spread their forces too thin. Hint, hint. You know? Spread their forces too thin. And guess what? The barbarians that they were fighting, that after they got done fighting, they trained them, after they supposedly freed them into a civilized nation, a democratic nation, went and came back on them. Basically came back on them and took them over. That's how we got in a little thing called the Dark Ages, because over 1,000 years of advancements were lost, because the barbarians didn't know the advancements, but they knew how to kill, and that's all they needed to know how to do. But you know, Bush, it was all fear. Even in 2004, it was, well, why was he reelected? There was a little thing called Fallujah. All right. What a lot of people don't know is Fallujah isn't a huge city in Iraq. Okay, I've been there. I've been through it. Alright, I've been to Iraq twice. I've seen smaller, little villages. I've seen big cities. I was in Ramadi during the time of Fallujah, the invasion of Fallujah. We were out there fighting just as many, insurgents in Ramadi as there was in Fallujah. But why was Fallujah hyped up? Why? Because Bush knew it was an easy task. It wasn't like you give back half the country. It'd be like giving back it's not like he gave up a New York City of Iraq. See what I'm saying? Or Los Angeles. Alright? It's like giving up, like Eugene, Oregon, where I'm at. A city of like 150,000 people. If that. Not even that, really. It's not nearly, it's a New York City block. Really. Fallujah is not very big. But it's condensed. It is a city. And the Marines fought hard there. I fought hard where I was, both times. And I lost friends, and I had friends get hurt. Thank God I never got wounded, A couple close calls, though. But, that's what it was. As far as with the 2000, why did Bush get reelected? It was the 2004 reinsurgent of Fallujah. He used that fear once again. He said, shit, I can't start another war, but I can keep this war going. So suddenly he pulls out all of our troops, let the Iraqi trained army, which he knew wasn't trained, the Iraqi police, which they knew was not trained. All the generals, everybody said the Iraq army cannot stand up to this insurgents yet. Sent 3,000 of them in there, and of course they all went to the highest bidder. They went in there, the Iraqi police went in there, and over half of them were bought off. They didn't retreat through gunfire, they were bought off. The insurgents literally walked up to them and said, hey, we can pay you more money than the U.S. And then all of a sudden now you have a surge of 1,500 to 2,000 insurgents in a little city, plus the insurgents that were already there. And they say, as far as the civilians go, well, what about the civilians? Well, Bush is always like, well, we told the civilians to leave. We told the civilians to leave that city, as well as other cities, when big raids were going to happen. But when you don't understand, when you're in Iraq, it's not like down here in the United States where you can, they said to leave, so I'll go get a room at the Motel 6 for a few days. Okay? These raids of cities take months, years. Ramadi, where I was, still isn't secure. I mean, the place is in rubble. It looks like we went through World War II all over again. Alright? They can't go down to the Motel 6. They ain't got nowhere to go. Basically, what you're telling them is go out to a desert. Right? They go out to a desert, and where there's nothing out there. They don't even have like stuff where they can live off the wild, like fucking animals and shit. They don't even have like, it's not like they can go out and shoot a deer. Shit, they get caught with a gun anyways, they're getting shot. So they're not gonna have that. On top of that, there's not like there's a fresh water supply or something going through the river. It's not like there's wood where they can go build a shelter out somewhere. When you tell 100,000 people, oh, well, you got to leave the city now, well, where are they gonna go? They're like, well, fuck it, we better just stay in our, in our little things here, in our little houses and buildings, and hold out, and hopefully we don't die. And I'm not against the troops. I was a troop. I was a Marine. I was with the infantry. I know how it is, but at the same time, I am against the war. And I'm against the president because he's just getting rich, and he knows it. He knows it. What about the Katrina? What about the bridge that fell in Minnesota? There's something like 400,000 bridges that need to be repaired, like immediate repairs, but they need to get repaired. Like they could just fall over at any time. 400,000 bridges. A lot of them haven't been repaired or worked on since the Great Depression, built back in the 30s and shit like that.